The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus,
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook, Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Evans,
Present.
Alderman Page,
Present.
Alderwoman Negracia,
Present.
Alderman Coder, Alderwoman Rice,
Present.
Alderman Gunther,
Here.
Alderman Stevens,
Here.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
Present.
Alderwoman Howard,
Here.
Alderwoman Green,
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Peel,
Here.
Alderman Todd,
Present.
Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Spencer, Alderman Vaccaro,
Present.
Alderman Narayan,
Here.
Alderman Cone,
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Graz,
Here.
President Balmer,
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Coder, Alderman Oldenburg,
Present.
Alderwoman Davis,
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Present. Did you hear me, Sharita?
yes, ma'am, 22 present, you have quorum.
Thank you, Sharita. The quorum being present, we will now be led in prayer by the Reverend Dr. Aaron Letcher of the Pleasant Green Missionary Baptist Church. Reverend Doctor, please lead us on. Are you with us? Do we have him linked in?
I'm sorry, President, what was his name?
On my agenda, it's Reverend Dr. Aaron Letcher.
Okay, let me move him over to the correct, to the panelists.
All right, thank you very much. All right. Reverend Doctor, can you hear us, sir? Sure, yeah. Oh, all right. If you would be so kind, sir, we've introduced you and we would like you to lead us in prayer today, sir.
Absolutely. Let us pause for a word of prayer. God, we thank you for who you are. We thank you for your presence and we thank you for your power. God, we ask now that, God, we thank you for our alderwomen and aldermen in their service to St. Louis and the people of St. Louis. God, we ask that you endow them with wisdom, and God, we ask that you help them move in a demeanor of justice, equity, grace, and mercy. God, again, we ask that you lead them in a way where they act justly. And God, we pray now that you smile upon them and give them what they need to make the decisions that are best for the people of St. Louis. This, God, we will give you all the praise. And God, we ask even now that you give them the Holy Spirit to help them to avoid fail. In Jesus' name we pray. Thank God. Amen.
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 Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for spending time. Hope to have you back again soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome to stay with us, or you can exit at any time and not enjoy all these festivities. Thank you, sir.
Thank you again.
All righty. Okay. We will suspend with our regular order of business to take up line item 21, the second reading of resolutions, committee reports and adoptions. Madam Clerk, please proceed.
Second reading of report of engrossment rules resolution and credential committee, newly elected Alderman of the 11th Ward, Jimmy Lappy.
All right, Alderman 26, who will be recognized to handle the proceedings.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I am proud, happy, and excited to report that after the engrossment rules, resolutions, and credentials committee met and went through scrutiny and analysis and a million questions, no, just kidding. We met and we approved Alderman-elect Jimmy Lampy, and I move that we adopt and seat Alderman-elect Jimmy Lampy and to proudly serve the 11th Ward.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by the Alderman from 26th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 4th, that we will let this gentleman join our wonderful ranks. This is your last chance to say no, Mr. Lappy. Okay. At that point, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
All right, congratulations, Alderman Lappy. Having duly been sworn in yesterday due to our COVID Zoom meetings, we will now return to our regular order of business. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus,
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Present.
Alderman Bosley,
Present. Present.
thank you. Alderwoman Evans,
Present.
Alderman Page,
Present.
Alderwoman Ingracia,
Present.
Alderman Coder, Alderwoman Rice,
Present.
Alderman Gunther, Alderman Lappy,
Here.
Oh, that was a Gunther. Sorry.
It should be.
Here.
Present. There we go. Now we're supposed to. There we go. There we go. Everybody gets.
Alderman Stevens,
Here.
Alderwoman Schweitzer,
Present.
Alderwoman Howard,
Present.
Alderwoman Green,
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Peel,
Present.
Alderman Todd,
Present.
Alderwoman Davis,
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Present.
Alderman Vaccaro,
Present.
Alderman Orion,
Here.
Alderman Cone,
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Here.
Alderman Graz,
Here.
President Balmer,
Present.
Alderman Coder, Alderman Oldenburg, (24) present.
All right, quorum being present, we'll again proceed and welcome Alderman Lappy. It is now time for introduction of honored guests. We have hands up and Alderman from 26th, you are recognized.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, members of the board, I just want to make sure I'm clear because I know yesterday we didn't officially swear him in, Alderman Lappy. Were we doing that during this meeting or?
What would have happened today would have been ceremonial.
Oh,
Okay, so he has actually been officially sworn in. For us to do it today, we'd have to arrange for a judge, a Bible, everything and
Okay.
was not able to coordinate, but
Okay, I just
If,
want to make sure I didn't mess up because we didn't do it
no,
yet.
no, no. This being the last meeting of the summer session, hopefully if we can get back in live, we'll do a ceremony for Mr. Lappy when we get back in September. But at this point, it is, he has been duly sworn in, and the ceremony, he gets to avoid the pomp and circumstance that you all got to wonderfully go through.
Okay, well then I would also like to introduce as my special guest, Reverend Dr. Aaron Letcher, proud pastor of Pleasant Green, which probably sits in the new 10th ward. Thank you for coming on and taking the time to pray over us. Lord knows we need it some days more than others. And I'm looking forward to working together with you, Alderman Lappy.
All right, thank you very much, Alderwoman. Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized.
Yes, I'd like to introduce as my special guest today, Kathy Burch, who is one of my constituents and tuning in from Harrisonville, Rhode Island today.
Oh, thank you very much. A long distance Casey Kasem request. Thank you. All right, Alderman from the 23rd, you're recognized.
I was gonna hold off because generally we let the new alderman do all his first,
Well,
but
I'm waiting for his hand to come up. I guess he's calling everyone right now.
so as always, my special guest would be Greg Meyer.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Alderman from the 2nd, you were recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Today, as my special guest, I would like to have all of the students, the professors, the instructors at the University of Missouri who engaged with all of the children that were accepted into the program for the summer. Today is their last day for their summer enrichment program. So I would like to have all of them, including my child, Cameron, as my special guest.
Thank you so much. Welcome. All right, all from the 11th, maybe are you aware of how to raise your hand, or if you'd like to introduce anyone? Do you have anyone attending?
I don't have anybody formally attending, but I know that my wife is watching the live stream, and if she hadn't signed off on me doing this, then God knows I wouldn't be. So hi, Mary. Thank you for allowing me to do this.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Alderman from the 4th, you're recognized.
Yes, I'd like to acknowledge Julia Allen, a 4th Ward constituent, as my special guest today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Alderwoman. And seeing no other hands, Alderman from the 25th. Alderman from the 25th.
I'm coming, Mr. President. Yes, thank you. Today is Friday, July 15th. It is National Tapioca Day, which I believe we'll know where to find the alderman of the 23rd. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, sir. All right. On line item 5, approval of minutes.
Approval of the minutes dated Wednesday, July 13th, 2022.
Alderman from the 25th, you are recognized for approval of the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve the minutes from the meeting from Wednesday, July 13th,
Second.
2022.
All right, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 25th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve the minutes of July 13th, 2022 meeting. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the alderman's mailboxes.
All right, we'll dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills or resolutions off any of our informal calendars? Alderman from the 8th, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Would you please move Board Bill 61 to the end of the regular reading, or onto the regular 3rd reading calendar?
All right, Sharita, please take note of that.
So noted.
Thank you, dear. And Alderman from the 3rd, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you please take Board Bill 65 floor substitute off the and put that on the 3rd reading regular consent calendar, our regular calendar.
Regular 3rd reading calendar or consent, sir?
Yes, sir. Regular 3rd reading.
Regular 3rd reading. Sharita, please make note of that.
So noted.
And Alderwoman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Could you please move Board Bill 11 to the third reading consent calendar?
All right, third reading consent. Sharita, please make note of that.
So noted.
All right. We will now go to first reading of board bills.
Board Bill 73, introduced by Alderwoman Evans, an ordinance authorizing the honorary street name Reverend A.L. Manson Senior Way pursuant to ordinance number 68937, which shall begin at the intersection of St. Louis Avenue and Euclid Avenue and run east on St. Louis Avenue to the intersection of St. Louis Avenue and St. Louis Avenue. Board Bill 74, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated June 28, 2022 for the 3101, 3117 through 3123 Delmar Boulevard and 3107 through 3115 Franklin Avenue area. Board Bill 75, sponsored by Alderwoman Peel, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 71028, establishing the 4400 block of Gibson Residential Parking District, and ordinance number 69745, establishing the 1100 Taylor Avenue Residential Parking District and establishing a new district, the Gibson and South Taylor Avenues Residential Parking District, and providing locations and restrictions for curb parking within the Gibson and South Taylor Avenues Residential Parking District, and authorizing the placement of parking by permit only signs and prohibiting the parking of any vehicle in the district that does not display the required permit, providing a penalty for violations and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 76, sponsored by Alderwoman Green, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan dated June 28, 2022 for the 3629 Hydraulic Avenue area. That's the extent of first reading of board bills.
All right, reference to committee.
To the Streets Committee, Board Bill 73 and 75, to the HUD Committee, Board Bill 74, and to Neighborhood Development, Board Bill 76. That's the extent of reference to committee.
All right, thank you very much. Second reading report of standing committees.
The following board bill was reported out of public safety with the due pass recommendation. Board Bill 55, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Howard, Alderwoman Middlebrook, Alderman Ryan, Alderwoman Davis, Alderman Vaccaro, and Alderwoman Green. An ordinance to amend City of St. Louis Revised Code chapters 4.18.055, 4.18.225, 4.18.315, 4.19.120, 4.19.130, 4.19.140, and 4.19.170, so as to permit the Board of Trustees of the Firemen's Retirement System to simultaneously act as the Board of Trustees of the St. Louis Firefighters Retirement Plan, but not until such time as amendments to Missouri Revised Statutes 87.140, 87.145, 87.155, 87.260, and 87.350 have become law to permit the Board of Trustees of the Firemen's Retirement System to simultaneously act as the Board of Trustees of the St. Louis Firefighters Retirement Plan and contain an effective date. That's the extent of second reading report of standing committees.
Thank you. We will dispense with line item 14. We'll move to perfection consent.
Board Bill 52, sponsored by Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Spencer, and Alderman Gunther, an ordinance pertaining to the special use districts establishing the Dutchtown Special Use District, providing definitions and findings pertaining to said Dutch SUD, further providing use and conditional use regulations for said Dutchtown SUD, and containing an emergency clause and a severability clause. Board Bill 67, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook, an ordinance amending ordinance number 67403 relating to a lease agreement dated April 2nd, 2007 to be extended in the second mutual option between the City of St. Louis and the Great Rivers Greenway District, authorizing the execution of a First Amendment to lease agreement between the City of St. Louis and the Great Rivers Greenway District for a period of 5 years with one or more 5 mutual option for land rights in the near North Riverfront neighborhood at annual rents as set forth in said First Amendment attached as Exhibit A and containing a severability clause. That's the extent of perfection consent calendar.
All right. Alderman from the 25th, you are recognized for approval of the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt
Okay, I believe I
I'll
heard.
second that. Yeah.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 25th and seconded by the Alderman from the 23rd that we approve and adopt our professional consent calendar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Opposed? And the ayes have it by your you have sustained the motion of the Alderman from the 25th and approved our professional consent calendar. Board bills for our perfection.
We have none.
Third reading consent.
Board Bill 37, 38, 57, 69, 56, Committee Sub, and Board Bill 11.
All right. And 11. Alderman from the 25th, you are recognized for the motion on the third reading consent calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we approve and adopt the third reading consent calendar.
And I'll second that.
It's been moved by Alderman from the 25th, seconded by Alderman from the 23rd. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Aye. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Page.
Aye.
Alderwoman Negracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Lappy.
Aye.
Alderman Stevens.
Aye.
Alderwoman Switzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Pass.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Pass.
Alderman Gross.
Aye.
President Balmer.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Peel. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Boyd. 22 aye votes.
All right, by your vote, you sustain the motion of the Alderman from 25th and third read and finally passed the aforementioned board bills. I saw a hand up, I missed, it was too late earlier, Alderman from 19th. I apologize, but we're in the middle of vote when I saw your hand up.
It's okay.
Okay, I apologize for that. My eyes aren't what they used to be. Alderman from the 14th, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I want to change my vote to present.
All right, Sharita, please make note of that.
So noted.
All right, seeing no other hands up, we'll proceed to line item 18, third reading and final passage of engrossment.
Board Bill 47, Committee Sub as amended. Sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderman Narayan, Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Negracia, Alderman Todd, Alderman Page, Alderwoman Rice, Alderwoman Peel, Alderwoman Middlebrook, and Alderman Gunther. The proposed bill provides for independent investigation of law enforcement misconduct and use of force incidents. The bill repeals ordinance number 69984 as amended by ordinance number 70532 and enacts in lieu thereof an ordinance that reconstitutes and provides staff support for the Civilian Oversight Board and provides for coordination and staff support for the detention of the Facility Oversight Board created under Ordinance 71430. The bill also establishes the Division of Civilian Oversight within the Department of Public Safety and authorizes the establishment of Public Integrity Unit directed by the Circuit Attorney in the City of St. Louis.
Before I proceed with Alderman 26, Alderman before 19th, your hands up in regard to the further discussion, or you have a point at this point?
Further discussion.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. All right, Alderman from 26, you are recognized on Board Bill number 47, committee substitute as amended.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 47, committee sub as amended.
Entertain a second.
Second.
All right, I believe it was moved by the Alderman from 26, second by the Alderman from the 6th. Alderman from 26, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Being as this is like our sixth meeting on this, I won't again go into what the need and the necessary movements that civilian oversight is, not just in our city, but the national movement that it is. I just want to recognize how we're being looked at. So I'll just read once again how I started this conversation 3 committee hearings ago. Whereas the purpose of the Division of Civilian Oversight is to strengthen the integrity and public confidence in criminal justice institutions by promoting transparency, fairness, and public accountability, and conducting thorough, impartial, and independent professional standards inquiries into misconduct, not the day-to-day activity, not the day-to-day serving and protecting that so many of our good SLMPD and good public safety officers do here in the city of St. Louis, but into misconduct and use of force incidents. With that, I'll be open to any questions, but I am absolutely asking my colleagues for favorable consideration. Do pass, and then we third read and finally pass Board Bill 47, committee sub as amended.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman from the 19th, you're recognized. Please proceed.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I entirely agree with the statement of the purpose of this bill, but I also have asked and have been talking and suggesting and requiring and begging that we take another moment here, because we don't have everybody's voice heard in a way that we can move forward with comfort. And that's very important. Nothing can be successful if those that are required to help make it successful have not been heard properly and are not in a good state of mind to participate one way or the other. So I'm just simply asking this. I've asked it in each one of our committee meetings. We did take time to clarify one point in the bill. We still have 2 other points in the bill that are contradictory. And we still also have not heard the voices and given them the answers and the understanding from those that this bill could affect. And so as I understand it, by still getting a number of calls from a number of entities, that still is desired. And I also understand that the SOP and POA both jointly believe that we do need to have that additional review and clarification on those points in the bill. So I'm going to again ask that we take that moment. We have time when we come back in session in September. It does not preclude the process that is already in place. We already have a board sitting there. They are already doing some things. It does not preclude from that continuing, and most especially the new director to continue to get better processes in place. So I just like to ask again, just based on those who have requested it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman from the 16th, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I stand in agreement with the Alderwoman from the 19th on this. You should all have in your inboxes as well as in the Google Drive. We have a broad agreement between both the Ethical Society of Police and the St. Louis Police Officers Association, which I think this body can appreciate that that's a pretty darn rare thing, where those two associations are in full agreement on something. And the something here is that they would like further review, they would like further legal analysis to give them comfort. They're shoulder to shoulder in opposition to this bill until there are those further discussions. I think if you ask them, their live and honest reaction would be that there's virtue in this board bill, but they would like to take the summer session to fully review it and get all their members, or as many members that are engaged, as comfortable with this bill as possible. And I don't think that's asking for the moon here. It's in writing, it's been submitted. The public safety director has also been copied on it. And I think we should take that letter incredibly serious. Place this board bill on the informal calendar, and let's take the summer session to come back with something that gets them incredibly comfortable. This is a sensitive issue, and I think we all recognize that. So let's hear both those associations with both ears, and take the time here over the summer to get them comfortable. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, sir. Alderwoman from the 4th, you were recognized.
Yes, Mr. President, I am asking if it's not too late to have my name added to this board bill.
You may. Sharita, please make note. No, it's too late. I believe we're on third reading because I apologize. It is at this point.
It is? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman from 23rd, you were recognized.
Just as an answer to the alderman from the 16th, we asked repeatedly, meeting after meeting, have they come, have they talked? We tried to give them opportunities to come and speak during the public safety meetings when it's appropriate in the right place to speak. And then today we get a letter. You know, I find it, you know, the timing was there. This has been going on for a very long time. And we held extra meetings just trying to make sure, I apologize, trying to make sure that they could, you know, lend their voice to this. Every meeting, not even missed, I did not miss one meeting that I did not ask the sponsor, have you heard anything? They've had every opportunity. And I just find it a little bit odd that now we get this letter on the morning of the final vote. I just want to put that out there. I mean, yeah, we can delay this till the end of summer break, and we could delay it to the end of next year, maybe 5 years from now. This actually has been being worked on for 2 years. It's not something that just popped up yesterday. Yeah, I have mixed emotions on this myself, but I will say, I do want to say that every opportunity for them to come in and speak, we talked to the leadership organization. They were going to come in and speak. They did send a letter in opposition during the appropriate time when we were in hearings, when people could have asked questions. We could have held more hearings. But at the request of the sponsor, we kept holding multiple hearings. So I just want to set the record straight that we did give opportunities, and to send a letter on the day of the vote, you know, when there is no chance to really add or make changes to the bill, which could have been done during the could have been done during perfection. Multiple changes could be made. There were changes made in committee. I'm just saying, you know, to say now on a day that you can't make changes to a bill, to say, well, let's put it out for further review. I don't know. I'm just saying, I just wanted to make that statement. Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Being heard for the first time, Alderman from the 3rd. Alderman from the 3rd, you have your hand raised?
I do, sir. I'm having some camera difficulties. Could you call me next? I'm sorry.
Okay, I will go back. We've Alderman from the 19th, you would be next.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I am sure that it was not easy for these two organizations to even come to the meeting of the minds to do a joint letter. I'm sure that they have been discussing things and probably have not been in agreement on many things, but they've gotten there. And I think one of the things that they realized is it wouldn't be healthy for our community if one group had one set of concerns totally different from the other, and or only one entity came forward and the other one wasn't heard. This is something that I think will really help with the community's understanding and respect for our police system, most especially, but to see them come together and work together, because that's another thing that we have to really understand about how we engage our community, how we educate our community. There are a lot of people that don't even know that they're two different associations. But the fact that they came together, that's a huge, huge effort that has been accomplished. That's very, very positive at this point. And if this body does not recognize it, it's going to give us a lot of issues in the future that are totally unnecessary for just taking a moment. What is it? 45 days, 60 days that we're out. And let's get this done. I mean, I've heard from some other leadership entities, and they agree that we should allow them to be heard. And those that might want to, that are listening on the chat, if you want to send in your support to this through the chat, you can do that. But I would really, really, really hope that the members of this board take this opportunity. We got a lot of things going on in our city right now. We're evolving with so many different issues that are not positive. And this one does not have to be that. It just doesn't. We've got all these elections going on right now. There's so many different things that we want to have comfort on something this serious with the community. And think about it. When you add the numbers together for those that protect and serve us, whether they're civilian or police, that's almost a third of our employee base. That's something to consider as well. Because then other employee groups will look at that and say, it doesn't matter when they show up, they showed up. And that's our responsibility to stop and listen. And I'm just asking. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderman from the 19th. We're going to Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized.
Yes, I am supportive of the intent of this bill. However, I agree that we need to have all the players at the table. We have not heard from the correctional officers, and they're involved in this, and their role is critical. I think that, if we're going to have treatment of people, we need continuity in the expectation of what these law enforcement and correctional officers do. And if we don't have them at the table, we're doing something to them, not with them. And there's, it's like raising kids. You can't just tell them, here's the rules and you're going to comply regardless. You have to have some conversation of the reasoning behind this and how we're going to execute this. I think that if we slow our roll here and take some time to listen, it's always a good thing to listen and be heard and let these people be heard. You know, we hear a lot about some people, we're not hearing people. We hear a lot from the same people in our constituency, but we don't hear from, you know, Joe Smith, who's going to work every day, raising his family of 3 kids and trying to pay the bills. And I just think that we need more conversation with those people that are doing the job, whatever that is, if that's correction officer, law enforcement. I think we need to have them in on this and how they're going to buy into this. I think it would be folly to move forward with this and do this to them, not with them. So, and that's all I have to say. Thank you very much. And
Thank
again,
you, Alderman. Thank you very
favor
much.
of this.
All right, thank you so much. Alderman from the 3rd, are you all fixed up and ready to go now?
Yes, sir. Can I be heard very well? I have earpiece in, so I don't know if you can hear me.
Please proceed.
All right, thank you. This is very, very important. Of course, we all know this is one of those things where it affects, I think, the entire city when it comes down to every single business owner, house owner, whatever it is that we build. Of course, we have to protect it to some degree. I think one of the biggest things that we really have to explore, especially when it comes down to us making significant changes like this, is what does it affect in the future. Right now, we have one of the highest crime cities in the entire nation. Our police officers are running from bullets, just like the residents are running from bullets. We have individuals that will raise a gun to an officer at the same time, or at the same instance of thought that they would raise a gun at a civilian or a baby or a grandmother. Those things have significantly impacted the way officers feel when they go out here and do this job. You know, nobody else is being called in the city ever when there's a gunshot going off and running towards the violence. Most of us are getting down on the floor, doing whatever it is that we can do to cover ourselves to make sure we can live to see tomorrow. Morale of the city is down. Our human way we look at human life is down. The way we value human life has been completely over the last 4 years taken to a totally different level. So what it comes down to realistically, when we look at where it is that we are going with the city, what it is we're trying to change, what it is that we would like for our officers to have as a job when they go out, right? 10 years from now, do we want to say that we are continuing to be the highest crime rated city in the entire nation? Because regardless, our officers don't get more money, they don't get more resources. The amount of crime that we have is going to always make the county and every other place in the nation look more appealing to officers because they get to go home to their children at night. No matter what we do here, we can pay them $100,000 a year, but for individuals who want to come home, for the amount of crime that we have going on, the amount of human mentality that needs to be changed based on the way that these officers are looked at, we can pay everybody great right now. But if the community still comes out every single time there's an officer involved shooting and feels like there is no way that there is a balanced conversation on how to look at whether or not that officer involved shooting was justified or non-justified, that's what all of this comes down to, is figuring out how to bring up the morale of our police department and efficiently give them the support that they need aside from the financial support, because finances only go so far, right? It has to come down to a point that we've been trying to figure out, which is what the mayor's office is doing, the police officers unions have been trying to do, regular citizens have been trying to do, all those individuals who are marching up and down the street, they're trying to figure out a balanced way to figure out how it is that we can say as a community, there's a bridge between the police officers, there's a bridge between the community, there's a bridge between the circuit attorney's office, and we all can walk around in the triangle and look at it and say, hey, there's balance here. Things are not lopsided, which is what the intent of this bill tries to do. Of course, there are hiccups, all kind of things inside of it that may potentially be looked at as something that could potentially harm people, but that's almost in anything that we do. I mean, let's just being realistic. Half of the tax abatements that went to another part of town hurt the other part of town that has not had tax abatement. As soon as we came in and started doing reform, it hurt the entire north side of St. Louis. So we are always doing things within this board that are taking 2 steps forward and maybe a half step backwards, because we have done things for a very, very long time that gets us to a point where we have to go back and retrace our steps and say, hey, this wasn't done right 50 years ago, but we did it right this time. Let's go back in the middle and fix this part or that part. Our police officers are missing the most important part in the city of St. Louis. This legislation means nothing without the human beings who are going to go out there and do the job. This legislation means nothing without the human beings being able to tell the police officers, hey, y'all did an excellent job today. Y'all went out there, we just had officers go out there and save a kid in less than an hour out here in our community. No, those are the things that the community have to come back out and say, hey, these officers did this. These were a great job. I'm going to go to not the Citizen Service Bureau, but I'm going to hit Facebook and everybody else and say that these officers, these 4 officers were excellent. Therefore, when we get to those situations where that 5th officer may have not done a great job, the community can say, hey, it was 5 of them that did excellent. And then it's that 1 who act like they didn't care. And I may like to inquire about that, but maybe I could talk to the officers and maybe he was having a bad day, maybe having some family problems. Like I'm having a family problem today, my kid is missing. I can call the police, I'm tripping, I'm yelling, I'm irate, I'm mad because I'm looking for my kid. I'm not in the best emotional state. We're not always in the best emotional state when we come.
Oh, from the third,
right mind.
You're
Yes,
breaking up over from the third, you're breaking up. We're losing you. Give them a few moments, if not,
Can you hear me now?
We can, sir. Yes, thank you very much.
Let me fix this. Can you hear me now? Good.
Yes, I think with all your emotions, you might have hit something.
Sorry about that. So once again, with these officers, right? They running out here every day. They running into crime. We're calling them like out of our minds. Hey, you need to hurry up and get. I called the police, straight up tripping. Somebody shoot, raised a gun at me just some months ago. And I'm, hey man, you need to bring some folks. I have a gun raised at me at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm not calling my partners. I ain't calling no gangsters down there. We can call my partners. I ain't calling no friends. I call the police. I'm calling individuals who don't know me. I may not know them. I don't know who's pulling up, and they're coming into a situation already listening to somebody saying there's a gun raised on them, and they're trying to figure out how to not get that gun raised on them or to eliminate whatever the threat is. So when it comes down to us as civilians doing what it is that we can do to ensure that the police have the backing that they need, that's what this, I believe, is the intent. It's not to punish officers. This is about trying to get us to a point where people can look out and see, hey, these 4 officers are amazing, but your partner, the one that you came with, why you treat me like that? Why you have to act like this or that? I may want to report him, or if you can give me some information, maybe you're having a bad day, you saw something I didn't, right? We have to get to a point where the community has some sort of a pipeline to understanding that their voices can be heard in a way where it's not just internal affairs, because they don't feel like their voices are being heard in that particular fashion, nor in the regular Citizen Service Bureau. And even at that point, the morale of the police officers, and you can ask a whole lot of them, they don't feel appreciated by this here. You can go out and save a baby and nobody's going to say thank you around the corner but the person whose baby got saved. And that's just not right. You go out here and you do a job for anybody. The person around the corner call you while the police officer is dealing with a lost baby. You got other officers who are going to leave that scene and go to another scene to go meet an entire individual that they don't know and risk their lives to handle their issue or problem. So, with those things being said, this bill is, I believe, a morale lifter. Right now, we can't see that particular point because it's at that place where you have these heightened emotions for the police department and this heightened emotion between communities saying the community wants to see police go away. The hell with that. Excuse my language. Man, my community wants as many police as we can get. Ain't nobody over here saying the heck with the police. We all are like, bring them. Where you at? Can we get that car? Can we get that car? But we also want to be able to put ourselves in a position where when those officers do a good job, we can report that in a way where they get the accolades they need. Maybe they get not only a 3% raise, but maybe the community can say, hey, good job for you. Let me come to your hearing where you're getting evaluated, and we as a community gonna write letters and help you out in that particular shape, form, or fashion, right? Maybe the Civilian Oversight Board gives that flip side of saying, hey, we know how to report officers and actually get to the table and have a conversation with those officers that we were not having an agreement with during the time when we had a phone call. Those officers who were doing a great job, we have now a way to where we can report this information and say that aside from, the whole situation, we had a great experience with these people. Like there has to be some sort of a balance at this point where the community has buy-in to our public safety infrastructure. My people are running around shooting people every day, and ain't nobody telling the police what's going on. I told everybody 4 years ago, I'm the youngest person on the board. And before that, it was John Muhammad, right? I'm in the shit shop. Like, I'm out here. I got the highest crime rate in the entire city. I'm out here with these murders. I'm out here with these shootings. I know what's going through a lot of their minds. I've been here. I've thought about murdering people. I straight been in that situation. You cannot not live in these communities without thinking about the different scenarios that happen around you. Like, it's too much murder, it's too much homicide, too much people breaking them. There's a lot that goes on here. The police have to make split-second decisions, just like we got to make split-second decisions. We have to figure out whether or not we finna shoot out our windows at night, whether somebody's shooting at our house, or we finna get down on the floor and go run downstairs and tell our babies to get on the floor. You know, those are split-second decisions. We can shoot out the window at a person that's trying to break in our car, shoot them in the face, and hopefully we get off on that. Hopefully it's justified. But there's also the same scenario when you call the police officer and he walks up to somebody who's robbing your vehicle and you on the phone with the police saying, I'm looking at him robbing me. I don't want to kill him. You know, can y'all do something? The police pull up and that man raises a gun on that officer, and that officer has to take that man's life. You got the people inside of the house saying, I called the police. They deserve that bullet because I was going to give them one that the police didn't. And you got the police and you got the community saying, he ain't had no gun on him, or he did, but he didn't raise it at the officer. They shouldn't have killed him over no tires. But what about that individual inside of the house? What about those people who called the police? There has to be some sort of a pipeline where we can start saying, for those officers who are doing an excellent job, we tally that up. And then for those individuals who are in some sort of a space with the community where we're trying to figure out where your heart is, where your head is, there has to be some sort of a documentation for that, and a way where the community can express themselves. And this isn't about holding officers to the plate. We want you to go to jail or nothing like that, right? It comes down to doing things in a way where you're supposed to protect and serve, and folks want to see those individuals who protect and serve in the right way get lifted up on a pedestal. Yeah, like heroes to these people. These kids grow up and say, hey, I want to be a police. My son want to be a police officer. They grow up and say, man, I want to be like that. They are going to save people. But when they see all of the bad rhetoric that comes along with the officers that do the wrong thing, and some of these officers that's riding in the cars with these folks be like, man, I don't even want to be your partner, but they can't say nothing. You know, they feel like that there is no real way for them to be able to express themselves without some sort of retaliation, let me not put that out there. I'm not going to say retaliatory because I'm not going to paint that picture for the police department, but just like any other department, just like any other job that you go to, sometimes when you go out and you're not necessarily in line with, in fact, I'll take that completely out also. The important thing about this bill, what its intent is, it is not to hurt any one officer. One of the biggest things that showed that Alderwoman Clark Hubbard was amenable to making changes, also that the committee was amenable to making changes, is we stopped the hearing. We had a whole nother hearing. They changed multiple things within the bill. There was one large thing in the bill for let's say all these officers that are watching, anybody that is. One big thing that was in the bill was this bill had the ability to have anybody in the Civilian Oversight Board to go all the way back and research any case that had happened for police use of force incidents, period. And that was completely taken out. So, effective of the date of this bill, from my understanding, that's when those police use of force incidents will actually start. So that's in good faith saying, hey, everything that's happened. So for every police officer to think this is about past, those individuals who have done things a long, long time ago, and we're trying to bring those things back to life, that can't even be done within the scope of this bill. That has already been amended and changed. So it's all about what happens in the future. It's about knowing that in the future, right? If you are out there with an officer and that officer is doing things in a way where you're looking at yourself and you are a young cadet saying, hey, this don't seem right. Why are you treating people like this, right? You're not as seasoned as that person, or you see things that are unjustified. You yourself have the ability to step back, have a citizen or somebody else make a phone call, and you don't have to be in that particular light with your department trying to figure out how to make light of a situation that has darkness in it. Every officer is not bad. I'll go as far as to say 80-90% of our officers do an excellent job, just like my community. They think we are drug dealers, dope sellers, killers, murderers, but we not. 90% of us are great. 99% of us do a hell of a job. You don't have 10,000 murderers out here in the city. It's only 150,000 Black people here, right? We got 2,000-3,000 shootings, 150 killings, something like that. We don't have thousands of murders in our communities. But they put it like that. You drive down the street, you walk down the street, 10 o'clock at night, Black man's in one area, white person, Chinese, whatever area it is. If it's dark 9 times out of 10, you're gonna walk across the street because the rhetoric comes with our community on TV and everywhere else that we are dangerous people, but that's just not the case. And it's the same thing when you look at the police, they tack them all in as one thing. It's just the boys in blue. And that's not the case. Everybody's not a boy in blue. They work for the blue. They understand the importance of the camaraderie within the blue. But the other things that happen that they understand is not a part of what that badge represents, they want no parts of. Same thing with our communities. We don't want no parts of these murders. Nobody want no parts of these babies getting shot in their face. Nobody's not wanting to tell the police that brother right there shot that baby. We ready to go take his head off. We know what comes with telling the police. We know what has happened in the past that's given folks that fear of not saying something. So those things are the things that we're working on changing to ensure. Like, I got crazy dope officers in my ward. I'm gonna say Sergeant Burch is one of them, amazing officer. I mean, God, man, we got some mate, Brandon Clark, one of our detectives, amazing officers that be out here doing work. They pop up every time we ask them to. But I also have been in situations with these officers where they have needed some additional assistance from community and being able to do their job. And community is like, well, we don't know if these are the right officers to talk to, this and that, because there's no real standard. There's no idea on who you feel comfortable with being able to say, hey, you got to call your alderman and be like, Bosley, can I talk to Sergeant? Yeah, go tell him what happened. We're going to make somebody disappear. And that's how it goes. Somebody, you let us know, we don't make this person. Somebody's going to jail, something's getting ready to happen because this is not, if he's a shooter, if he's out there killing, that's the thing. We have the murderers, man. Quit killing our people. So the police officers in our ward, they on a totally different time, demon time, whatever you want to call it. They work in homicides, murders. They trying to dodge bullets every day. So the last thing they need is to be walking through gangways with individuals whom cannot watch their back, or they feel like inadequately, or they feel like the community is not watching them at the same time because the community is one who's calling them to go walk through that gangway. Those are the type of relationships that we're trying to build. When my people call people, police in these areas, I want my folks to be looking out the window like, yeah, I wish somebody would come out here. We got guns too. Y'all better not shoot one of these officers. You better not hurt one of these people because you shot a kid. They finna raid that building and we all blowing it up if you hurt one of these police officers. That's the way community's supposed to be. And I don't mind saying it on record. That is the way it's supposed to be. One person shooting at a kid, everybody shooting out the window, police on their way, picking them up on about their business. The only way we build a community like that and ensure that these individuals who are out here shooting us up, shooting up our law enforcement, how you feel comfortable shooting up law enforcement, shooting out firefighters, hurting our nurses? That's a community thing. That's a personality thing. That is an allowed thing that gives people the perception that everybody's tapped in together. These officers get away with murder. That's the way they feel. So they do whatever it is that they want. And it's not like that. They don't get away with murder. These officers do not like the officers who are doing bad things. They don't. They love to have good people working by their sides. Love it. And that's all they want is to bring the morale up and put themselves in a position where they are put on the pedestal the way that they should be, because ain't nobody else out here dodging bullets like the Matrix for us in this city, period. So with all of those things being said, don't look at this family as a board, as a way into these officers' lives to ensure that we can discipline them. This ain't about discipline. There's disciplinary actions in here. This is about separation. It's like church and state, right? It's just saying, hey, if you want to be who you are, I'm going to step away from you and let you do your bad thing over there because I'm not going to get tapped into it. Somebody going to call them. These citizens now can do that. But I am an officer, and that officer over there is not a part of what it is that we stand for over here. You've seen officers, especially in the last few years, all across the nation, push other officers off when they're a little bit irate. And that's what things happen. Once again, we call irate. When we call 911, none of us are 9 times out of 10, most of the time in a very, very emotional situation, we're not in our right minds a lot of times. We got stuff going on. You're in an emergency situation. That's why you call somebody who's calmer than you, who has the training that they need to be able to say, hey, slow down, calm down. Hey, you're talking too much. Shut up, bring it down. Whatever it is that they do, they're trying to get you to a mental state to where they can have a professional conversation with you to get down to the bottom of the reason of why you called and identify what it is they can absolutely do to help. And those things are no different from these officers who are pulling up to our irate behaviors, trying to figure out who it is that they can talk to get that person to calm down. So these things are a part of us being able to build this family piece and being able to say, hey, I've talked to all these officers in my ward. I know the one that I didn't have a good interference with or interaction with, and you can't just call on them just because that officer locked you up. But it's never, something happened to where it deemed the call. You can straight now see, because these are regular officers who frequent our ward all the time, right? You can see, I know who Officer Burch is. I know who these officers is. I'm vouching for them. Anybody get shot out, whatever happens, we vouching if it's done the right way, and we gonna come out in troves. That's how my community is. So that same balance is needed for us to be able to continue to lift those officers up and give them everything that they need to go out here and protect everything that we're calling 911 on and saying we need you to protect, and protect them at the same time. We tired of seeing officers get shot at. Nobody wants to see that, and nobody wants to take, as a community, the bunny end of the stick on it. Like, yeah, we shoot officers. Who wants that? Because ain't nobody finna come to your ward then. We straight got areas in our ward where the police won't even drive down. True, I won't say it, but we know that, the whole hood know. And it's not that they're afraid, but it's because those individuals don't give a hell about them officers. So why is they finna run over there for them saying, and it's real, this has to get to a point where we're looking at the communities that are the most impoverished, needing the most police activity, right? And I'm saying we got it. We can look at a statistic right now. I got the highest amount of homicides in the whole city. That's nothing to brag on. I hate it because I know these people who died. And it sucks to wake up and see these dead bodies every day, hear these mothers talking about what could have happened, what didn't happen, and listen to them talk about what they feel is lackluster police work. When it ain't lackluster police work, you got 3 homicides every day, 2 shootings every day. These people are working tooth and nail. How you gonna work 5 homicides and you 1 detective? And it's all happened in the last week. Like, these things get to a point where these police need what it is that they need, and we need what we need as a community to be able to say, this officer's doing excellent, and we need some help with this. So this intent, it has nothing to do with, once again, removing officers or trying to take the morale down or trying to prevent officers from doing an excellent job or disciplining them at the same time. This is separation from church and state. Said, hey, man, we separating those individuals who we know for sure have been doing an excellent job, and the people who we know that have questionable, not backgrounds, but going forward, have questionable interactions. Folks have that ability to be able to say what it is that they, and of course it already exists, the citizen service by but the civilian oversight board, but this is a different way. And I know, once again, that there'll be folks who say that there are issues in it. It's issues in every, it's issues in the civilian oversight board. We had to update that, 5-6 times, 3 or 4. When I first got in, it was on the bill. It took us a whole year to do something with the very first civilian oversight board bill. I think it was 2 years. So as we continue to make these changes and continue to work to figure out how we bring the morale up in these offices and bring the morale up in the city, there's a community aspect to this at the same time that we have to look down the pipeline and say, what are these officers going to be looked at, and how they're going to be looked at by the community 4 years from now, 2 years from now, when this mayor is not in office? Are we still going to be having this same problem that every other problem exists within the United States? Or are we going to be the front runner and saying that everybody looked at us through Ferguson, marched through these streets and say we need police reform? At one point in time, did we march with the police and say, we've done it? We've made some significant changes, and y'all need to follow us as a nation. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Alderman from 3rd. Alderman from 27, you had your hand up.
No, I'm fine.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure before we proceed, because Alderman from 23rd has been heard once. I want to make sure there's anyone else for the first time. No one else for the first time. Alderman from 23rd, please proceed.
I just wanted to, make a comment on this should give more time. It's in the 3rd reading final passage, which means no changes could be made. So let's just say we wait and do this at the end of summer, and we hear from everybody on the planet. It still can't have changes made to it. The time to have had the changes made were when the changes were made back in the committee. Procedurally, if we say, let's put this on the informal calendar, or let's send it to, let's put it in the informal calendar until the end of the session, it's still going to be the same bill. It still won't have any changes. I just procedurally, I just want, in case somebody doesn't understand, when something is in its 3rd reading final pass, it's beyond making changes to the bill. And no matter what we do, it's the same bill that will come back at the end of summer. Just talking about procedure, that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Alderman from the 16th, you had your hand up, but you've heard from once. Pardon me. Alderman from the 1st, this will be your first time speaking. Please proceed. Alderman from the 1st.
I'm sorry, Mr. President. I just wanted to contradict a little bit of what the Alderman from the 23rd said about procedure. You actually can have your board bills, if you need to change them, you can have your board bills sent back to the perfection calendar. And that's how you can change them. So you do not have to send it back to committee. You can just send it back to the perfection calendar. That's all I wanted to say on this.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Appreciate your input. And Alderman from Oldenburg for the second time, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Mr. President, will the Alderwoman from the 26th yield for question, please?
Alderman from the 26th, will yield to questions from the Alderman from the 16th.
Yes, sir.
Alderman from the 16th, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman, in light of the letter that was circulated at the request of the Ethical Society of Police and the St. Louis Police Officers Association, would you please consider honoring that request to place this board bill on the informal calendar? And if changes need to be made, as the Alderwoman from the 1st suggested, we can reconsider and move it back to the perfection calendar. Would you consider placing on the informal calendar today?
Thank you, Alderman Oldenburg. Respectfully, out of the utmost respect for the work that has gone into this, not just in the committees, not just the changes that were made in committees, but the changes that were made from meetings prior to us even introducing, prior to us even having committee hearings. Years back, 20-some years, when people sat at a table working on this legislation before we knew the travesties that would even get us to need this legislation more than ever. I respectfully have to say that during this process, these months of process, I have heard from several officers who hold membership in both of those organizations who don't agree with the letter, who, might I add, that did come this morning, might I add, did not point out any specific opposition, just said it needed more time. It's been time spent, and for some, I want you all to understand this kind of work will never be comfortable. It'll never be comfortable, but this is the work that makes change in our communities that we need, because different entities have come to the table and came in the middle and made the difference on what this means. And under the direction of the highly capable Commissioner Brumman, who took on this before he even knew that we would be able to make this happen. He knew the importance of this, and he knows and been doing this work. I do not see why someone would have any kind of hesitation. He's a former FBI agent who, might I add, has openly said that he would be open to having IAD officers, IAD investigators in his office, in the COB office. You know, I have to think about the people that did work on this, that, you know, your heart can't do everything, but there are people that have been at tables doing this work, helping, always answering a call, not waiting, even in there in my face, you know, not saying and not waiting, but going ahead and doing the work because they know it's bigger. It's bigger than just one complaint. And I'm saying that, and I'm not negating the letter. I'm not negating the 2 names that are signed on that letter, but I am saying that I'm hearing from officers right now that do not agree with, even when I forward them the letter, because again, it doesn't have any real opposition in it. They don't agree with what it's saying. So let me just go back here and say, back in 2000, everybody knows I'm a history nerd. I go back, I look, I read, and I watch this stuff. The same opposition back there, when the Black Caucus was fighting for this, when the civilians were fighting for this, the same opposition back there, it's ironic that it's some of the same terms, same things that I'm hearing today. That's not the spirit of cooperative working together in our communities. That's not under that, because again, this bill inquires into misconduct and use of force incidents. So if there is no misconduct and no use of force incident, then you don't even come before a civilian oversight, a properly staffed, a properly vetted, a properly ran and administrated civilian oversight bill. And we know there are officers every day that fight to make sure they wouldn't have to do that. But to not have something like this in place, I think is the biggest thing. It's one of the, I know we've used all these different terms today, but I think that would be one of the biggest mistakes. Again, this is not starting today. So while we're talking about people coming to a table, that the table has been set here for a while now for this one, but this table is going to be continue to be set. This won't, when this passes today, and I'm claiming this for the people, for the civilians and the people that are watching, when this passes today, there's still a year for you, everybody that wants to come to the table that I guess just had blinders on the whole rest of this time and didn't. Come on to the table now. Come on to the table now, because we want this to be the living moral document, policy, procedure that is going to be, that we're fighting for us to be. People know the changes. People on this board know the changes. People heard about this long before. So again, I respect the letter that I got this morning. I honestly do. I respect the two names that are on that letter. I honestly do. I've spoken to both of them in person. I have. I sent one of them an email, the other respectfully, because of the relationship, other people have talked to him. To get the letter this morning, thank you. But I cannot, that doesn't move the spirit and the energy behind this work, because it really triggers some of the past things and some of the past opposition within the community. And it's really, I can't think of the word I'm using, Alderman Alderberg, but it's really engaging another side of this that I didn't want to, that I fought hard for not to be a part of this. So I think all of us, because I said it before, none of us can legislate morale, right? Morale is a heart issue. Morale gets built through trust. Morale gets built through communication. Morale gets built through transparency. It doesn't get built through side conversation. It doesn't get built through miscommunication. It doesn't get built through obstructionism. It doesn't get built on pitting people together, when you're pitting people against each other, rather, when you know that even in their differences will work better together, right? That's not how you build morale. And again, the spirit of the spirit of cooperation that this bill has gone through, the fight of cooperation that this bill has gone to, a letter this morning out of all the lists. And I thought about reading the list, but I didn't want to read the list because it's extremely long compared to the two on this that we got this morning. And I didn't even want to give the energy that I'm feeling some people are giving about pitting people against each other. You are some bigger oversight. If you want to talk morale, more whatever, use your heart and your mind and think for yourself. This bill for anybody should be what they should be supporting. If you want accountability on any side, and we have the people in place now more than ever that could do it the right way. And that can move it the right way for our constituency, for our public safety officers, for all parties involved. The miscommunication about this being against the police officers, again, I could pull up the meetings. It was the same conversation in 2015 and 2008. It's not against police officers. It's not against police officers. It's against misconduct and use of force incident. So if you're not against that for your constituents, if you're not against giving somebody the right and the role and the responsibility, the platform, the tool to fight against that, the families that have experienced that, the families that I pray to God, I told you all in committee, and I told somebody earlier, I never worked so hard on legislation. I pray we never have to use. But the reality is history has shown us, right, that it's necessary legislation. It's been worked on, and it has a year to go. So the whole, it's getting ready, the sky getting ready to fall out right now, and this against officers. I'm sorry, no. And again, pulling it back after all of this, I respectfully am asking my colleagues to vote to third read and finally pass this bill today. And I'll be waiting to hear from other colleagues. I hope I answered your question. I got a little emotional about it, but I hope I answered your question. And I respect you I respect Alderwoman Davis. I respect Alderwoman Boyd for asking to hold this on behalf of them and Alderwoman Howard. But I'm also asking that we work cooperatively together, knowing that all of us have heard, this is none of our first time hearing this, not just this legislation, but of this work and the need for this work. And that we third read and finally pass this legislation today.
Great. I thank you, Alderwoman, for answering the question. I don't have any further questions. I'm just going to wrap up by saying that I think it's important that you mentioned that in the spirit of this bill is against misconduct and misbehavior at its core. I would argue that it's against the allegations of misconduct and misbehavior. Let's remember that police officers are citizens that have rights as well. So I think it's to say that this bill is completely just against misconduct. It's not. I mean, I think it's a process, right? And a vessel that sets up a review of allegations of misbehavior. Correct.
Can we agree on that? That's what
I believe that Alderman 26, I believe he stopped his questions for you. He's closing, make his
I need
closing
to raise
statement.
my hand to respond to that.
Yes, that would be correct, ma'am. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Alderwoman. It's just me bloviating now, so I appreciate it. I think it's an important point for all of us to make sure we understand that that mere allegations should have a proper vessel to review, investigate. There is already a functioning and operating citizen oversight board, and I think it's not again asking for the world to have the police officers associations, both of them, take a little more time. Because we know there is an element in this city and throughout the country that are a minority element, but vocal, that are anti-police. And I think it's important that they feel a certain amount of comfort that large vocal contingency isn't at the table where there's a process that's not fair. And that's where I will conclude on.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Are there any other hands up? Anyone else to speak? Well, you'll be recognized to close, Alderwoman. You'll have your final statement if that's all right. Unless you want to do a direct response to Alderman Oldenburg, I can recognize, because there's another hand up, but if you like to do a direct response, or you can wait to your closing statement.
This quickly a direct response that this is a not against allegations. Clearly, this is to investigate allegations. If the allegations, let's just start with again, and I say if the allegations don't come, then you don't even encounter a civilian oversight board. But when allegations come, if you all are on here and you're thinking this is so anti-police, which it's not at its core, it's not. But you would want a civilian of highly staffed, highly trained, properly run by Commissioner Brumman, properly vetted, properly tooled investigation piece like this for allegations. Allegations are going to come any day. Guess what? Somebody can put allegations against us right now. I would rather have something like this in place to fight it on both sides versus me just jumping up and hollering and saying, I didn't do it, or they're against me. It's all against me. So that's why I just wanted to chime in and say again with the narrative and again with the words that's being used, because people are listening. Yes, this is about allegations. I pray to God we don't get any more allegations that we need the civilian oversight board, but history shows us that we do.
All right. Thank you very much, Alderwoman. Alderman from the first, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I've been dealing with this issue for 28 years. I voted maybe the first time for it, and then I was a strong no up until a few years ago when Alderwoman Boyd did add subpoena power. My strong no was not because I'm against civilian oversight. It's because the bills that were being introduced were weak, had no power. The people really couldn't do anything. And I have gone into ad infinitum of why I was opposed to the bill, but not because I was opposed to civilian oversight. I don't have a problem if the police organizations don't agree with civilian oversight, because I don't want, to the other side of what Alderman Oldenburg is saying. I grew up very pro-police, right down the street from the police, friends with their children, still am pretty pro-police, but got to go to the public defender's office and got to see the other side of the police, who put drugs on people, who lie on people, who don't tell the truth. My first 3 cases I ever had were not guilty in under an hour, and they were felony cases because the police just plain out lied. Broke my heart. I am the person who wants to think that if the police says something, it's the truth. And I was raised that if you were in trouble, that you went to a policeman and they would help you. Finding out that wasn't necessarily, that fairy tale I grew up with was not necessarily true, was hard for me to adjust to. And I boohooed in my own garage that I live in right now, the house I live in, came home and cried after I won a victory because I just couldn't believe the police had so lied. So I don't think that they are the people to be in charge if you have a civilian oversight. Just like I don't want them to be in charge of my elections or anything like that. So if they're opposed to it, I'm okay with that. I just want the strongest oversight, independent, serious civilian oversight that I can have. I don't want it to be something that the mayors can toy with. So I never liked the fact that the mayors made the nominations. And so that was something that was a problem with me. And there were other things. Subpoena power was one of them. So when we added that, I was very glad that we had added that. I didn't vote for this as it came out of committee because there are things that are still a few things I would love to see added to make it more independent. But I want to say to the sponsor of this bill, you are headed the right way. Alderwoman Shameen Clark Hubbard, you are headed the right way. And it is not because the police. So, and you are, if you went back and saw any of my stuff, and you can go on my Facebook page, I moved from a strong no because it wasn't about 2 cents, and I was very vocal about it, to, oh, this is going the right way. I'm voting present, but not because I want the police to agree with it. That's all right if you don't agree with it, because if I'm investigating you because you shot somebody in the back 60 times, I don't care if you agree with it or not. And again, I want the police to understand I'm a person that's been a pro-police. So, but when I know better, I do better. When I learn better, I do better. So the position that I have did not come because I wanted to hate on the police. It came from back, how many years ago was the Shockley verdict? One of the reasons why they were able to get rid of that, to do that kind of thing, is because we actually don't elect our judges. So we were able to have an administrative judge appoint a judge to do a bench trial. That judge is still over there who did the appointing. We all mad at Wilson, but that judge is still sitting over there. He should be voted off the bench, which we never hardly do. But because we don't elect our judges, we had an opportunity for them to play the system, let a police officer clearly what I call murder somebody and get away with it. We were all shaken. We didn't even know what to do. We were so shaken with that. And we had no recourse, okay? And so we do need something to investigate people. I did not support the police being put back under the city, not because I don't believe the police should be back under the city. I didn't believe the mayor who was in charge at the time of the mayor was politically mature enough, and he wasn't, to be in charge of the police. So he immediately did double promotions and made a police chief he wanted to be. I also had some other concerns, and I don't see that our police department runs any better under our control than it did under the state control. Now, I know I'm not supposed to say that out loud, but the truth just is the truth. All of the things about what the police don't like, it's a lot of things I don't like. I don't like when we got control back. We no longer have a police board. I talked about that in committee. There is actually no place for a citizen who wants to either come and sit down at a meeting and have compliments about what a great thing the police did, or have problems about what the police did. We don't have a police board. So we obviously need something that citizens can go to that's independent, okay? And of course the police are not gonna want to. And I tell this story, and it's an old one. George Peach was probably the most circuit attorney that was the most pro-police. Those were his buddies up until the time he got arrested for solicitation and stealing money from the city. But those were his buddies. But when I was a public defender, he had the audacity to talk about bringing a case against the police. And the police said, if you do that, I'll have blue flu. See, that's a police state when the police can tell the circuit attorney, you better not bring a case or we'll have blue flu. So those are the kind of things we do not want to happen. So when everybody's so worried about the police feelings, I'm worried about the people who get harassed by the police, who get shot in the back by the police, who get murdered by the police, and they get away with it. And I know why the circuit attorney wants to have control of the situation when there is something that happens. We had a situation in which police officers shot and killed another police officer. The circuit attorney was new, and she yielded some authority that I think she shouldn't have, because she thought she could trust some people. She absolutely should have to go in there and do an investigation. Don't have to talk to the police chief or the director of public safety or anybody else, and do an independent investigation, as long as we leave the police and the circuit attorney in this dance that we have right now. If I had my druthers, the police, since they do the investigation for the circuit attorney, would have somebody different who investigated them if they did a crime or were accused of committing a crime. But in this situation where a police officer killed another police officer, there were some allegations of drug use and alcohol use, in which the public safety director said that wasn't true. But when you read the article, the policeman himself said he was drinking. But the circuit attorney didn't get test the way she should have, because the scene, some things prevented her from. So I absolutely understand why she wants to have access to that scene. And I know about the situation because I talked to all sides. I know all sides, the circuit attorney, the public safety director at the time, and the chief. Two of them come from my ward, and one of them came from the ward that's adjacent to me, and I've known them for a very long time. And I said to her, you never ever let anybody again do that to you. So all of those kind of instances make me cheer for what you're doing, okay? I told you I was gonna vote president, I still am, but you're awfully close to getting a yes vote from me. You're headed the right way, okay? And so I said no to Alderman Kennedy when he did it, and a lot of other people. But as you get this thing that is strong and independent, the opposite of what the police are going to want, that's the more I'm going to love it, okay? Because if I'm getting investigated, I should not be in control of who investigates me and how they investigate me. That is the problem. We've had peers down here been accused of stuff. Can you imagine if we were doing the investigation of our peers that was accused? That does not work. It doesn't work for the police, the judges, or anybody else. You cannot investigate yourself, because you will find yourself not guilty, okay? And that is just how it works. And again, that is not because I'm anti-police. It's because I'm so pro-police that I want the good police officers to win. I have had so many good police officers who have told me they are scared to say things. They're scared to turn things in, because although we talk about that gang mentality, that's what the thin blue line is. It's a gang mentality. It is a mentality that if you tell on the police, we will punish you, that you better know we're all in this together, so we can't tell. And I know, I guess everybody kind of has that a little bit, because you're used to working with people, you trust them, you care about them. And then when they're accused of something, that's a punch in the gut. We've all experienced that in the last couple of months. Punch in the gut to see 3 Black men get indicted. That's a punch in the gut for me. People who I've had to work through issues with and come to some understanding, and then to even just hear this. I'm still a person that's innocent until proven guilty. So I never called for anybody to step down, because if you are rich, you can step down from your job. But if you are poor and you step down from your job, makes it awfully hard for you to pay for an attorney. So just going back, I'm sorry, I digress a little bit, but going back to the whole thing of the police not liking how the independent citizens review board would operate. I don't know why you think you should be in control of that. You should not be in control of that. You do have a right to send over your position as an organization, and we should look at that. But in the long run, what we want is a police group that represents the citizen. I remember that O'Toole, when he was acting police, and he did sue the city, he was being discriminated against. No, he was not being discriminated against. I actually am the person who sponsored the bill that most of the Board of Aldermen voted for that condemned him because his officers were mocking the people who had protested because they chanted, "Whose street's our street?" And then the police officers came juvenile under O'Toole and said, "These are our streets. They are not the police streets." Anytime the police think it's their street, we got a problem with that. This is the citizens' streets, and the police officers are supposed to be respectful, and you are not supposed to be mocking citizens. And we actually were going to bring O'Toole before us to condemn what he did, and then Hayden became the police chief. Then O'Toole then said, "Oh, it's all about race." It was about your immature behavior. It was about you not understanding that the citizens are all of our bosses at the end of the day. So when we want to have something that the police don't like, you can go to the polls if you live in the city, because so many of you all don't want to live in the city. You all fail to realize as you move out the city, you don't have any real political power. You'll be just like the teachers having to call me up, but you don't have any political power because you've all moved to the county. So I have always encouraged police officers to stay in the county. It kind of hurts, in the city, hurts my feelings because they don't want to stay in the city, because I think we have a wonderful city. Yes, we have problems, but all of us, I think 99% of us down here want it to be a good place to live and work very hard for it to be a good place to live. And Citizens Review Board does nothing against that. Like I said, I'm still going to be a present because I've watched the current one we've had and how they have evolved, and I just still haven't seen them have the power that they should have and the independence that they should have. But maybe I'm going to be wrong on this one. Maybe I'm going to see something, and then I'll join the crowd and say you did a good job. But right now you're doing a good job just pushing it forward. Alderwoman Boyd did a good job when she got subpoena power added to it. You keep adding to stuff. Sometimes legislation sometimes takes a long time, because what you talked about was changing people's heart. And that is a very big difference than just making a law. And we learned that from busing. Okay, if nobody ever learned anything from busing, we did not change people's heart with integration and busing for integration. We just made people flee. And that wasn't what Minnie Liddell sued for in the first place. That's the really crime of the whole thing. She sued to have equal schools in North St. Louis, equal books, equal teachers. But some great people came up with, "Oh, we'll have integration and send the kids south and send the kids out in the county." And we never got the schools fixed up in North St. Louis or the books and the teachers. So I know how people can take your narrative, Alderwoman Clark, and they can run with it to make it something different than it is. So you continue to press that you want to have something that is about civilian review for those people who are accused of allegations. And again, I heard somebody say, well, you got to have people who are trained to do those kind of things. They got to be properly trained. Civilians can be properly trained. We all come down here, civilians and politicians. Most of us were not long-term politicians. I didn't know anything about politics when I got down here. I didn't know the rules, anything. I want to thank the former 19th Ward Alderwoman, Velma Bailey. She taught me a lot. Alderman Bosley, the first one, taught me a lot. Alderman Clay. There were a lot of people who taught me things. Alderwoman Geraldine Osborne. I can go on and on because I knew nothing about politics. I had been an activist out of my community fighting for some things, and I got picked and tapped on the shoulder by a congressman and a state senator, but I didn't know things. We can train people to do proper investigations, and that can happen. But to have the community involved in civilian review is not a bad thing. So again, I told you already I was a president, but I think you're headed the right way. And I hope what you're doing is something even more positive. And I just didn't understand it. and that ultimately we get something up and going that's really powerful, and let the citizens speak to how they want their city to look. And I want us to be mindful that the police have to answer to, yes, some investigative board, but ultimately they have to yield to the citizens who live in the city, because you can't police people if they don't want you to police them. And when they start thinking that you're unfair and a whole group of people, that's why they pull away. That's why they don't talk to you. That's why they don't tell things, because you yourself won't tell on the police most time. And that's why a lot of citizens don't. And so again, I want to thank you for all your hard work. I will be a present, but I do know you're headed in the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Thank you very much. We have two hands up. Alderwoman Bard, you're for the first time, so please proceed.
I'm gonna be short in regards to what Alderwoman Tyus said. And my family was victims of that wrongful accused situation with the police. And so Alderman Vaccaro had made the comment, if we had this bill, he would be impacted, but he still would have, because he's a civil service employee. And so for the 2 years that we fought, and they stripped him to nothing, and he had to rebuild and fight to prove his innocence. So that was kind of heartbreaking for us as a family. But as Alderwoman Tyus said, the community came out and they submitted 2,500 letters to say they wanted this captain back where he was, and it was ignored. And so I'm not condemning the bill as a whole, but thanks to Proposition R, I can't vote on the bill. And I apologize, Alderwoman Clark, because this whole Prop R thing has me just really fickle. And I thought about it afterwards. And so I probably need to follow the lead of Alderman Vaccaro, because I do have family on the police department. But I have been an advocate for the police before my son-in-law even was my son-in-law. He was a kid in college, and I was still fighting for the police, because we do have good police out there. But I just feel that we need to work on it. And as you keep referring to Alderman Kennedy, and there was other aldermen that worked with him and fought with the Black Caucus in regards to this whole piece. But as Alderman Kennedy told me when I first got on, it might be a year, it might be two. When you're trying to do a bill and perfect it, it's going to take time. And so I think that's why people are asking that we have more conversation, because you said earlier in your message that it'll probably be a year before it even goes into effect. So that's saying that we have time that we can work on that. But I just want people to know I'm not abstaining because I don't believe in the bill. I'm abstaining because I have a policeman in my family and I cannot vote due to Proposition R. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alderwoman. And Alderwoman from the 19th, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to, I always have to compliment Alderwoman Tice, because she brings a lot of good things to the forefront, most especially about how difficult it is for those who serve to speak up and as officers, because they know they might be punished. I think one of the things that you will find is that culture is being eroded. I think that one of the things that they're really interested in, and that's why these two organizations have come together on several different things, is because they want to have the best police department. And they know that they all have to work together on getting some of these things in place. And I think that you might find, I know I have in the past, that when we do listen to them, they give us some good suggestions on how to make our jobs more effective. Before we had an oversight board under Chief Harmon, he created a community oversight, and I served on it. But one of the things that came out of that was having a better understanding of the operations, and also the community having more faith that when they had a complaint and they brought it through us, that it would be dealt with appropriately and fairly. And that's exactly what this oversight board must have, is all the tools and all of the understandings that are required to get through all of that over there. And that's why I want to hear from these, because I'm paying attention to the leadership. I'm paying attention to how they're being able to work together here. We have a very, very nuance going on here, and it's all happened in the last few years. And we have to respect that and work with it. And it's only about a little bit of time. And I think that if we talk about morale, I'm more concerned about the morale for the community than anything else, because we've taken our community through a lot in the last 5 years. They've been through an awful lot, and it's confusing, it's upsetting, there's apathy. When we look at how many people come out to vote, it's true apathy out there, and we need to get them to a stronger trust factor, and we definitely need to see our organizations and employees work better together. And that's all I'm looking for, just asking for a little moment to have some voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alderwoman. I see no other hands raised. With that, Alderwoman from 26, you are recognized to close.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Thank you for all the comments that were made. Thank you for all of our lived and honest, open experiences that were expressed today and will bring us to our vote today. I'm asking that you all check your own hearts and your own minds and your own constituencies, and respectfully understand that the year that I'm talking about is a year of implementation. That's a year of implementation, but it starts with us. It starts with us telling our constituency, yes, we want to work with you all, and we want to work cooperatively with our public safety department so that every voice is heard. Every voice is heard. Some voices have not been heard, and not because they didn't send a letter here at 8-something this morning, because they have been through lived experiences, and they still years ago and still to this day have not been heard. This gives them hope. Civilian oversight gives them hope. Civilian oversight is the continued hope that we all deserve. So I'm asking you all for your support and your vote to third read and finally pass Board Bill 47 Committee Sub as amended.
All right, thank you very much, Alderwoman. It has been moved and seconded that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 47 Committee Substitute as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderman Page.
Pass.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Lappy.
Aye.
Alderman Stevens.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Pass.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg.
No.
Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro, Alderman Narayan,
Aye.
Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Abstain.
Alderman Grice,
Aye.
President Balmer,
No.
Alderwoman Middlebrook, Alderman Bosley,
Bosley again?
Alderman-
Can you hear me?
yes,
Okay, I thought I said aye the first time. My apologies.
okay, thank you.
Sure.
Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderman Page,
Aye.
Alderman Coder, Alderwoman Howard,
No.
Alderwoman Peel,
Aye.
Alderman Todd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis,
Present.
Ms. Rogers, did you hear Ty say aye?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Alderman Vaccaro,
I'm sorry, abstain. Same reasons.
Alderman Cone, 17 aye votes, 3 no votes, 2 abstain, and 2 voted present.
All right. By your vote, you have third read and finally passed Board Bill 47 Committee Substitute as amended.
Board Bill 61 Committee Sub, sponsored by Alderwoman Rice and the following alderpersons: Peel, Clark Hubbard, Ingracia, Coder, Green, Switzer, Gunther, Todd, Cone, Grice, Stevens, Middlebrook, and Narayan. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment appropriating a portion of funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 to the St. Louis Department of Health, authorizing contracts to expend the funds to the extent received containing a severability clause and an emergency clause.
Alderman from the 8th, you are recognized on third reading and final passage of Board Bill number 61, Committee Substitute.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 61 Committee Substitute.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from the Alderman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderman from the 6th. Alderman, please proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, members of the board. We had some pretty significant debate on Board Bill 61 Committee Substitutes at our last Friday's meeting. Again, we are using ARPA funds here to try to meet an urgent need within our population. So I'll hold for now and see if there are questions.
All right, Alderman from the 23rd, you're recognized.
Yeah, that much as much a question as a statement. Passing a bill that is going to end up in court, when we talk about immediate needs, this could be tied up in court for literally years. And by putting the COVID money in with it is tying up COVID money, even though you'll say, well, it has a severability clause. I don't see this as anything more than just, and I don't want to use the word stunt, but I might. It doesn't, you know, when you pass something when it's clearly told us it's going to go to court, doesn't make a lot of sense. This isn't about pro-life, pro-choice. It's about passing legislation that is just going to tie up funds that are needed throughout the city for a lot of things in court. So for that reason, you know, I can't support it. And I was clear on that the other day. I'm not going to belabor it, but I just think that's, you know, I think it's the wrong thing to do. And again, this isn't about pro-life, pro-choice. It's about, do we tie that money up in court and give false hope to those that feel that, gee, you know what, we are going to use this money to transport people over. And I understand it's not for abortion. I've been very clear on that. For medical needs over to, I guess, it'd be Illinois in this case. And I understand it's not for abortion. So definitely it's not a pro-life, pro-choice bill for those that are on either side of it. But it does tie up a lot of money, and a lot of people that have been writing me have been saying, you know, we got potholes, we don't have police, our trash isn't being picked up. Is it proper to tie this money up in court? That's just my statement. And that's why, you know, I can't support this. If there was something, you know, if a group of people who just want to put a bunch of money together to do that, you know, if it's to help women that need help, not abortions, but need help, count me in. But I really don't see tying up money and adding COVID money in. It isn't going to help the people that you're saying you want to help if it's in court for a year or two. So that's just my statement, and I appreciate you listening.
All right, and thanks for not belaboring the point. Okay. All right, Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized.
I don't have any questions. I just have a statement. I think this is a poor choice of use of ARPA funds. You know, we've got workers employed by the city that are not even hardly able to support their families on the money they're making. We have, again, potholes, we have trash. I think this is a poor choice. The county has already appropriated $1 million for the same endeavor. And I looked on the CDC website. I think there were 1,200 abortions reported in the state of Missouri. And if you do the math on the $1 million, that's about $650 per person if we would fund each one of these people to go to Illinois, I guess. It would be the nearest. I don't know that, you know, what kind of bus you'd have to take for $650 to go to Illinois, but I just think it's an inappropriate use of the ARPA funds. I think it's fiscally irresponsible with all the needs that the city has right now. But, you know, I can't vote for this in my heart because I think that we have so many needs by so many people. We have people that are suffering with pregnancies and ill health. And we're putting half of as much money in that. It just is not a good choice. And I can't support it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Seeing no further hands, Alderman from the 8th, you are, oh, pardon me, Alderman from the 1st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. If the Alderman from the 8th would yield.
Alderman from the 8th, will you yield to questions from the Alderman from the 1st?
Yes, of course.
Alderman from the 1st, please proceed.
Thank you. So this new, as I'm reading your board bill 61 committee substitute, it says that we're establishing a new reproductive equity fund and COVID-19 testing, treatment, and vaccination together. Are they both together or are they separate?
No, so the items 1, 2, and 3 revolve around that reproductive equity fund. So the first is the supports for abortion, and the second is the supports for maternal reproductive health, and then the third is the oversight piece, and all of those are together. So that reproductive equity fund has the two pieces of the supports for abortion logistics, and then the reproductive, the rest of the reproductive care. The COVID-19 funds are in a separate bucket, but because these are all dealing with the health department and these are all contracts that will be working through the health department, that's why they're together in this bill.
Okay, so the first one is the support for abortion logistics, and what's the other part of it?
So abortion logistical support, and then the second one is for maternal health reproductive services. So doulas, we have folks who are looking for mental health care. So sort of full spectrum, comprehensive doula care throughout pregnancy, pregnancy loss, birth, postpartum, lactation support. All of that is included in that fund.
Okay, and so everybody knows, so anybody doesn't say what she's doing, I do support pro-choice. I not only support it, I give money. I gave a substantial amount of money. I'm going to give some more. I don't support every way we do things, but I do support the concept that people have a right to make choices about their reproductive rights and their personal body. I disagreed with Roe v. Wade being overturned. I knew it was going to be with the president we had before. And so it was not a surprise. It was a disappointment that they did go ahead and follow through with the lowest common denominator. So going back, I do have problems with putting these bills together. I wish, and I've already talked to some people who are with Planned Parenthood, that we have money coming up that is not public funds. I went and looked up the law, Alderwoman, and Missouri's revised state statute was put into place before we put this in, says use of public funds prohibited. It shall be unlawful for any public funds to be expended for the purpose of performing or assisting any abortion, not necessarily to save the life of the mother or for the purpose of encouraging or counseling a woman to have an abortion, not necessary to save her life. And that is 188.205. I don't agree with them saying that, but that is our law, and that's what we're dealing with. So when I read this board bill, and I'm looking at page 3, line 11, it says, let's start with line 8. We're going to appropriate $1 million of the ARPA funds to the City of St. Louis Department of Health. The Department of Health will establish a process to allocate the funds to community partners through grants as part of a new reproductive equity funds dedicated to logistical support. These grants will not be used to fund or assist abortion procedures, nor shall funds be used to encourage or counsel an individual to have an abortion. The next line says, grant funds will be used to encourage or counsel an individual to have an abortion. I'm kind of confused with that. Can you explain that to me? Because that seems to fly right in the face of what was said previously. So it's lines 11, 12, and 13, and into 14.
No,
Okay.
so that is not the bill that I have in front of me, Alderwoman. Mine says that they will not be used to fund or assist abortion procedures, nor shall funds be used to encourage or counsel an individual to have an abortion. Grant funds will be used to provide access to abortion through logistical support, including but not limited to the funding of childcare, transportation, and other logistical support needs. That's my line 11 through 15.
That's what I just said. I'm sorry you didn't hear me. That's exactly what I said. The grants will not be used to fund or assist abortion procedures, nor shall funds be used to encourage or counsel an individual to have an abortion. That is line 11 through 13.
Right.
Then in the middle of 13, it says grant funds will be used to provide access to abortion through logistical support, including but not limited to the funds of children, transportation, and other logistical support needed. So
Correct.
what I'm asking you is, so it is your contention that when you say it's going to be used to provide access to abortion through logistical support, that somehow goes around 188.205?
So a couple of things. We believe that this federal money is not restricted by that state statute. We did go out of our way because because this is federal funding, the state does not have the authority to restrict the way that we spend federal funding that is granted to the city. We did go out of our way to make clear as possible, in line with that state statute, that we are not counseling people to get an abortion. We are not paying for abortion procedures.
So you didn't answer my question. So is it your contention that you believe that language goes around, and you're saying you don't believe that I understand your belief is that 188.205 does not apply to federal funds, and the state has no right to make laws. But do you believe that language makes it safe for 188.205, or is it just your contention that they have no right to make it in the first place?
Sure. I do believe that that the way that we have worded this bill gets around the restrictions in that statute.
So you said, to me, and I'm just sorry, grant funds will be used to provide access to abortion through logistical support, including but not limited to. So when I read, it shall be unlawful for any public funds to be expended for the purpose of performing or assisting any abortion. So assisting, for me, it's a great amount of things, including transportation, blah, 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 which I also think they can't do transportation because there's a whole commerce argument about travel and everything else. But I'm just focusing on this because I look for our great Attorney General of the state of Missouri to be out there with a lawsuit, which I want to say, I thought he was from Central Missouri. When I finally did research on him, the young man graduated from DeSmet High School, is from right here, but all his commercials would have me believe that he comes from Missouri. And so I'm saying that to say that he's going to be right out there with a lawsuit. So, and the Supreme, if this thing goes on, we do not and cannot count on the Supreme Court anymore to be any kind of ally or even just objective. So if I'm looking at the wording that's in 188.205, when they use the word assisting an abortion, that covers a lot of things. And I want to know why you think that this wording, when it's specifically used to provide access to abortions through, that's assisting to me. So I'm curious as to how you think that gets around it.
Sure. So Alderwoman, this is the great debate between lawyers, right? What does the word mean? And this is what will get argued out in court. We believe that is direct to the procedure itself, assisting there. And if you heard, there was a press conference or a press interview with the governor yesterday, where he said, we're talking about emergency measures to save the life of the pregnant person. And he even said, well, we don't have specifics on that. I'm declining to answer, to give people specifics on when is a proper time to intervene to save the life. And he said this should be left to doctors and patients, not to lawyers and to bureaucrats, right? So we are in a position now that we are doing the most that we can with the laws that we have, with the funding that is available, specifically because this ARPA funding has less restrictions on it than normal federal funding, that we are able, and because this healthcare crisis is directly tied to COVID-19, we are able to use this fund. We are able to, there are legal opinions that say that we could even use this money to provide funding for abortions directly. Even in the state of Missouri, we are not doing that. We are providing supports. We are providing childcare and transportation. And that is what we're taking an aggressive stance here because we believe that an aggressive stance is needed at this critical time.
So you all anticipate that we will be going to having a lawsuit, is what I'm hearing.
The Attorney General tweeted something from his account, and I don't like to denigrate another lawyer, but he doesn't have a great track record in court. He just had another lawsuit tossed out. And I would hope that, he would bring a lawsuit that is specific to this fund itself, not to the rest of the bill, not to the rest of the COVID funding that is included in it. That is, if he does in fact bring that lawsuit, we are ready for that lawsuit.
So this is what I know. This is when you've been burned. back in 2000, I don't know, 14, 15, whenever we did the minimum wage, which had a specific date already in law of August that we had to get it passed. And we did all kind of machinations. I don't know if you were here then. I know Alderwoman Green, Alderman Cohen, and some other places, but we did all kind of machinations, including pulling a bill out of committee, which I don't like to do, and all other things, telling both the current mayor, the mayor who was then mayor, which was Slay, and the then president, some falsehoods that we didn't have enough people to get it passed because they would not call an emergency board meeting. We got the board meeting called. We actually got the bill passed. Alderwoman from the 6th was there. We got the bill passed. We used to have little meetings in our little office that she still has. We got that bill passed. We got the money on people's checks. It wasn't just that we got it passed, and then the state came into it. The governor and the General Assembly came and took that money back from people. They changed the law after we already had it in effect and took that money back. Do you remember that,
I was not here for it, but I do remember it.
Okay, so each time to me that we've done something that the state doesn't like, even though they talk about that they believe that the states should have rights. They obviously don't believe that the cities should have rights and that we should be able to have our own charter, because then when the former mayor took the police chief and a public safety director after we would not allow the police to move out the city, then she went up there and got the governor to do a short-term law that said our police can move out the city anyway, even though after that we had a vote and the citizens says they didn't want to. And so, and our charter says they can't. But again, they tend to go right around us and just do stuff that they want to do, is what I'm saying. I always felt comfortable because I always felt ultimately we got a Supreme Court that maybe will say you're crazy and we're going to overturn this. I don't feel that comfortable anymore. I think maybe we might get some kind of ruling from the Missouri Supreme Court that's more in keeping with my beliefs and what I believe is the law, because it shouldn't just be my beliefs, it should be what's the law. But I believe that then it will be taken up, and that it will take years in which they will challenge this. And so even if you're right, my concern and what I have I'm opposed to is that we put these things in the same bill. I think that if you really were making a statement, it should have been separate, and that you wouldn't be jeopardizing all this other money. Because as I went through the bill, no place could I see in this bill where it says the total amount of bill except the appendix. Okay, so which is $3,886,000. Is that correct? Is that the total amount of bill?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so there's no place, usually someplace in the bill it would say that. But so if they take this bill to court, and they being our industrious attorney general, about the $1 million, when they take it to court, the bill is not severable until there's a ruling that one part of it is illegal. So you're going to be taking that whole part to court, and depending on the manner, if it's expeditious, a long term and drawn out, when we will get a ruling. I am not comfortable that we would take the rest of the money and put up at risk for a number of years. Okay, I do agree with the rest, and I don't understand why we wouldn't use the Rams money, which County Executive Page and Mayor Tashara Jones have a number of members on that board that could wrap this thing up and decide what this money is going to be done with the Rams money, and why we wouldn't use that. Or if we don't do that, alternatively, separate it out so that if it is a lawsuit, they're dealing right with that and not with the other monies that I don't think that they would be having a lawsuit about. So I think that's a mistake, but it's in here now and it's where it is. Okay. Okay, so on page page 4 of 6, lines 2, 3, 4. What is a reproductive equity fund? So can you explain that to us so we know what that is, please?
Right. So the reproductive equity fund includes both the funding in the previous section and including this funding. This came out of multiple meetings that were done at the direction of Dr. Love Holt, meeting with people throughout our community who had needs around reproductive healthcare access. The goal is to contract with local organizations that are already doing this work. Particularly, we had come and talk with us in committee, the St. Louis Doula Project. They're a group of doulas who are working with people who don't otherwise have access to these types of services. So it can include everything, full spectrum supports through pregnancy loss, through birth, through postpartum, mental health care, logistical support, lactation support in the postpartum period. All of that is able to be there. And that's the idea of this fund, is to create so it's a 2-part fund, but this piece in specific is supposed to be seed money to start meeting the need where it is right now because of the COVID-19 crisis and where reproductive healthcare access has gone, and to meet the need in the community that it currently exists, and to create a fund that we can hopefully find more funding to replace as the years go on. But we're using the money that we have at the moment to meet this need that we have at the moment.
And could you explain for those of us who do not know what doula is? What is a doula?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a doula is a healthcare professional. The licensing can be different depending on what state, what locality, but someone who is there to sort of be your guide. So a nurse, midwife. Midwife is probably the closest comparison, but someone who is really there with you throughout that process. That isn't just a doctor who's popping in and out. A nurse that's got other patients working on, but a doula is a very concentrated resource, and I guess it's sort of akin to a social worker as well, with the access that they're able to give.
And so women's reproduction is not just about pro-choice and not choice or abortion. It's about a lot of other health issues that affect women, is what you're saying. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We have a maternal mortality crisis in Missouri, and our outcomes are not great here in the city of St. Louis, especially. And the more that we can care for people throughout and after their pregnancies, the more we are able to keep people alive, people who already have children in the community, who are workers, who are valuable to our community, purely because they exist. So making sure that they have this critical healthcare is really important.
Okay. Thank you. Now I want to go down to lines 13 through 16, in which there is $250,000 that is used to provide administrative oversight and evaluation of the reproductive equity program and funds. Can you explain what that is going to be about?
Absolutely. So this was requested this was at the request of the director of the Department of Health, to be able to have the support needed to be able to allocate these funds to the community groups to do the compliance work that is necessary with these federal funds. When we passed our first section of ARPA funding, there was a vast amount of money that was allocated, because sort of for every federal dollar that is coming through this, we have to have supports alongside it to make sure that we are in compliance with the letter of the law and the administration of those funds. So going back and working with the community groups that will receive the grants to see what their outcomes are also. So this is evaluating the request for proposals, allocating the money, and then keeping track of what they're doing with it, what outcomes are, and hopefully improving the program as we move forward.
Okay, and I wanted to go back for a minute to page 2 of 6, line 8 through 9. And I talked to Mallory over at Planned Parenthood, and she said this was their language, but I'm going to tell you too. I don't like when I read COVID-19 health crisis exacerbates existing social and economic inequities and women, and then Black women. Black women are part of women. You don't take out any other group. I think that there was something else that you might have wanted to say about Black women and having more, but you don't in there. So I find that offensive as a Black woman. We are all women, be it Asian, Hispanic, or whatever. And if there was something else, it's missing, okay? Because it's as though we are a different species and we are not.
That's a fair criticism. That is supposed to highlight the fact that Black women's maternal mortality rates are so much higher than other women here in the state of Missouri, in our region, and that have been much more disproportionately impacted by COVID. But I understand that was absolutely not the intent of the language, was to separate that out as if you were not also a part of the overarching umbrella of women.
Okay. And like I said, she did say that was their language. So we had a good conversation about that. Okay. And then on page 5 of 6, so then we're gonna, that $500,000 is going to be used for incentive cards to support COVID-19 vaccination. What are incentive cards? Could you tell me that?
Yeah, so these are the gift cards that we've previously allocated money for, and thank you. I had a little bit of a brain break when I was describing the sections here. So yes, it's $500,000 more to do those $100 gift cards that folks are receiving as they're getting their vaccinations. So we do have a continuing need to do this as more boosters roll out. The city, we're, I think, in the 60 percentile of folks who have received at least their first vaccination. We are much lower when it comes to getting boosters. And as the virus mutates, we are probably going to have need for more vaccines. And so encouraging our community, giving them the resources that they need if they have to lose work after they've gotten a vaccine, if they've got side effects that, are kind of painful. I've had rough side effects with vaccines as well, but these gift cards can help people bridge the gap if they're losing out on work to go get their vaccines, and also just provide an incentive for people, because this is a public healthcare crisis. It's a public health crisis that my choice to get vaccinated does actually affect my neighbors. We want to try to encourage people as best as possible to get those vaccines.
And so these cards are given on a first come, first served basis. So who comes to do it, or need, or a combination thereof?
I believe it's first come, first serve at this point. So there were restrictions earlier on about, just being for the first vaccine. Those are not in place anymore. They have them at every vaccine event. So even for, the children that are getting vaccinated now that were not eligible before, these are available to folks who are coming to get vaccinated.
Okay, and then we have 1,636 that's actually going to be used for testing, treatment, and vaccination, COVID-19.
Yes.
And is that going to be at the health department or spread around the city? How will that work?
So this was a specific request from the federally qualified healthcare centers to make up the gap where they lost funding in March of 2022 to continue these programs for free to their patients. So we're stepping in because the federal government has let that money lapse. And because this ARPA money is directly for COVID-19, we are filling in that gap for them. So this is a specific request from those healthcare centers. And that includes Affinia, Betty Jean Kerr, People's Health, and a couple of others. I can pull that up, but that's where the specific request came
You don't
from.
have to give me a list.
Sure.
I just want to know if it was going to that or not.
Yes. Yep. To those
Okay.
FQHCs.
Okay, and so that, like I said, I like that part. I like all the other parts. I don't like the part where we're gonna get sued. And so when I get to the severability clause, which I hear it's a severability clause, but I wish we had a clause that said, if we get sued, we separate this out immediately versus severability clause, because the way this works, and until it is ruled that that part is illegal or legal, then this whole thing is a package. And I know that might have been one of your strategies, or the group of people, whoever decided to introduce this. I just don't like tying that money to this. And I will tell you, the really reason why I don't like it is because in my community, they're very angry about not seeing any parts of the COVID-19 money. I have asked the mayor's office on several occasions for several months in a row now to give me the statistics even of who got that $500. Give me some statistics by ward, by area, by was the more people got it who were online, who didn't. And I still have not gotten that, which is going to make me have to do a resolution, which it shouldn't have to be. I should be able to get that information. There is nobody in my ward, not one person who has said to me, I got the $500. That worries me. The business money, all of this money that's being we've allocated it, but we're not seeing it. So when I talked to people in the reproduction healthcare community, they seem to think that you all are going to be able to get this money and it's going to be right out there and going to be spent immediately. That's good for you, but that just makes my community, which all are not pro-choice, want to know, why is it that we're not seeing any of the money? Okay. So, and I told the person who was talking to me about this, I said, well, you think that's great, but for the big picture, that's not great in North St. Louis, where many, many, many aldermen can tell you they have not seen any of this money. The people have not seen any of this money. And I remember 1 year ago being at my mom's house, a little bit over a year ago, and we had 12-hour meeting to appropriate that first amount of money. And that my mom's birthday is July the 9th. So I was there for her birthday, and I end up spending 12 hours on the Zoom call about this money. And so now here it is, over a year later, we haven't seen this money. So I'm looking at this here, if everything just goes right and we don't get sued, if it's going to take that long, that's going to be a problem. If it's going to be a lawsuit, that's going to be even more of a problem. And I can't get any answers about the business loans. I've been watching TV where people are questioning people. Every place I go, I'm getting calls about where is this money. So then to put this in as a severability clause, that if we get sued and it's found to be illegal, then we can separate it. And I'm thinking that, again, I wish we would have had a better severability clause that said, if there is a lawsuit, this is separated, okay? Because otherwise this is going to, whatever length of time, if he does sue, this is going to tie up that money for that length of time. And I just can't believe that he could, in the middle of his campaign, that the Attorney General would walk away from a lawsuit. Now, I did understand, and I don't know if this is true or not, somebody told me that the governor had cut the Attorney General's budget. That would be an interesting thing. I don't know if that's true or not, but if that's true, that might make him think about every little lawsuit that he pursues, but he's going to do that. So I'm not scared of the lawsuit. I'm just scared of, I haven't seen any money in my community. And I actually spent, the reason why I was in the hospital 5 days ago, for 5 days, is because I spent my time in March working with the comptroller, the mayor, and the then president board of aldermen, so we could get that 80-something million and 30-something million. We could do compromises and get that done when I should have been in the hospital then. And so I even put my health at risk for my community. And I just do not see this money out in the streets in my community. And I cannot support anything that might hold it up any further. And I do think it's a mistake that we use ARPA funds for this. And I think it was not a political, but it's a strategy of fighting back. And I understand that. And as a lawyer, I understand that strategy. But as a member of the Board of Aldermen who represents a community, I don't understand that strategy of putting at risk any amount of ARPA funds that I won't see in my community. So I do appreciate, as I said, you answer my questions. I would, from now on, I would advise you to put someplace in your board bill the total amount of your funds you're going to spend, not just in the exhibit. I will not be supporting this bill, not because I don't support reproductive health care, and not that I support that we get some of that RAMS money and we give more of the money than what we have in here to that. And I still think that we might want to think about doing that. Because I have a resolution. I'm going to ask the new chair of Ways and Means to please have a hearing on that resolution as soon as possible. And it's about the RAMS money. And we have a lot less restrictions on that. And I think it might be a lot easier for us to spend that money and for him not to get at it so much than this money. So I'm hoping that the federal government or the president might say something or do something, an executive order that says he can't get at it, but that still doesn't stop him from filing a lawsuit. And I just don't want any of that money tied up for any length of time, because besides not seeing the ARPA funds, this is the first time in 30 years I haven't had my grass cut in my ward. In 30 years, this is the middle of July. We don't have trash pickup. We can't have buildings demolished. So I'm not seeing city services. And so before we do anything, the first thing I think the constituents, at least mine do, and many, many others, they expect us to do city services, and that we're not doing a good job of that right now. And so I am not going to support anything that holds up even $50 of the ARPA fund until we can get these things straightened out. But I do appreciate and I understand where you're headed with this. And because of the Supreme Court, I am going to send some more of my own money, because I still support the whole concept of woman's right to choice. Thank you so much. I yield back.
All right, thank you all from the first. I see any further hands. No further hands are up. With that, we will go back to you all from the 8th. We're recognized to close.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, members of the board. We have an opportunity here with a historic amount of funding that is tied directly to community health to fund access to healthcare. Healthcare is the base of health for our community. In order to keep our citizens functioning as well as possible, this is an opportunity for St. Louis to lead, to show that we are not interested in backing down. Our state legislature has been hostile to the city of St. Louis for a number of years. We are doing everything we can to make sure that people in our community that need healthcare can get access to it. We have a lot of ARPA money. We have a lot of ARPA money that we've appropriated. We have a complicated request for proposal process within the Board of Public Service, but we are all eager to see that money get out into the communities. This is one of those opportunities to do that. So I thank everyone who is here, who is standing with people who need access to abortion, who need access to reproductive health care services at this time, and I am grateful for the opportunity to lead. So with that, I would ask for your favorable consideration that we pass Board Bill 61 committee substitute.
Roll call.
All right. This third reading final passage is always a roll call. All right, thank you very, very much. It has been moved seconded. We third read and finally pass Board Bill 61 committee substitute. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley.
No.
Alderwoman Evans. Alderman Page.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Lappy.
Aye.
Alderman Stevens. I'm sorry, Alderman Stevens, I didn't catch that.
Stevens is aye.
Thank you. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
No.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Nope.
Alderwoman Peel. Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
No.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
No.
Alderman Gross.
Aye.
President Balmer.
No.
Alderwoman Tyus.
I said no first time. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderwoman Evans.
No.
Alderman Coder. Fifteen aye votes. 7 no, I'm sorry, 8 no votes and 1 voted present.
All right, thank you, Sharia. By your vote, you have third read and finally passed Board Bill number 61, committee substitute.
Board Bill 65, floor sub, sponsored by Alderman Bosley and Alderman Gunther. An ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment appropriating a portion of funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act, portion of funds received under the American Rescue Plan Act 2021, authorizing contracts to expend funds to the extent received contain the severability clause and contain an emergency clause.
Thank you. Alderman from the third, you're recognized on third reading and final passage of Board Bill 65, floor substitute. Alderman from the third. Alderman from the third. There you are. I can see you, but we can't hear you, sir. Alderman from the third. You're recognized. Still can't hear you.
Thank you.
Sir.
Some people say, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. If you're recognized on Board Bill.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Sir.
Hello,
yes.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can
Yes,
you
sir.
hear me?
We can. Now we can.
It's on. Okay. Well, thank you. Third reading finally passed Board Bill 65, floor substitute.
Was that a motion? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yes, sir. I said I moved that we third read and finally passed Board Bill 65, floor substitute.
All right, thank you. Entertain a second.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by the Alderman from the third, seconded by the Alderwoman from the sixth, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 65, floor substitutes. Any discussion? Please proceed. Alderman from the third.
Thank you. This is once again a board bill for violence prevention. Of course, we just talked about all the violence that goes on in the city. This is one of the things I also believe that could potentially help bring up the morale in all departments within the city. If we reduce the amount of violence in the city, we reduce the amount of headaches and the amount of emotional distress that's put on the residents within these areas that have the ability to help move our city forward. This violence prevention fund is $10 million that goes towards doing some of the grassroots efforts and things that for some time we've been asking for funding for, not like cure violence, but more so like the different camps, different programs that are going on in the communities where you have these grassroots organizations actually out here touching the gangbangers, out here actually touching drug addicts, drug users, families that are victims of the circumstances in our communities. There are a lot of different grassroots organizations that are out there doing amazing work within the community that has the ability to go directly to the blocks where the police officers are serving and talk not only directly to those individuals, but influence them to do different things had they have the funding necessary to be able to add and incorporate more individuals into the infrastructure and programs that they are and have worked to present to the community and are, doing without any type of funding at all. So what this bill intends to do is just to open up those funding doors for those grassroots organizations across the city of St. Louis that can give us what we need in terms of bodies here within the city that live in the city, work within the city, that have the ability to help change that narrative in these communities where you have so many individuals that are impacted by where we live. So in conjunction with the mayor's office and other aldermen, we're just asking for your continued support on our efforts within the city of St. Louis to reduce violence. This isn't something where the mayor's office has come up with some amazing program. I myself have been coming with some amazing program. This is targeted towards those individuals in our communities who are already doing this work that we know for sure that are impacting our community, are given the opportunity, having the funds that they need to be able to adequately impact based on the plan that they have and already impacting on a minuscule level or a smaller level, being able to, have some funding to be able to advance in what it is that they're doing and make it a more robust program. So, with that being said, I ask for your favorable consideration. And I appreciate everybody taking the time to, at bare minimum, get it to this point, because we've never had this amount of money going towards these grassroots organizations. It's a whole lot of murderers in our community. We got places like Dream Builders for Equity right now who are taking children in our communities in one of the most crime-ridden cities in the entire nation, and teaching them where there are broken windows, how to fix those windows, where there are doors being kicked down, how to replace those doors. When more folks come in and they rip the pipes out of your grandmother's houses, they rip out all of the plumbing, they rip out the HVAC. These children that are in these communities walking past these broken buildings are now walking past and looking at them saying, you know what? I got an idea for that. I could fix that. They are interested in going inside, not burning it down, but looking at what needs that they believe that they can fulfill to eventually get to a point where they can take it back to a place like Dream Builders for Equity and other entities that are working in our ward and say, hey, we've identified something that we can make some change for in our community. That's what these dollars are for. These young gentlemen and young women will eventually turn out to be the individuals who are builders of our communities, other people that are going to tear it down. And the only way we prevent individuals from thinking that they don't belong in our community is not making them a part of the building in our community. And that's what this, once again, Prevention Fund does. It provides an opportunity for foundational infrastructure to be built within the community and into people's minds so they can become a part of the building that goes on and see themselves as a part of the progression that we are looking for happening here within our city. So with that, I appreciate it, Mr. President, members of the board.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing no hands, Alderman from the 3rd, you are recognized to close.
All right, thank you very much. I move that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 65, Board Bill 65, floor substitute.
Second.
All right. Okay, we have already received, it's been moved and second. We third read and finally pass Board Bill 65, floor substitute. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Page.
Aye.
Alderwoman Negracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Lappy.
Aye.
Alderman Stevens. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Peel.
Aye.
Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Orion.
Aye.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Gross. President Balmer.
Aye.
Can't wait to get to it. Let me see.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
I'm gonna get the fucking ready to.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Stevens. I'm sorry, Alderman Stevens.
Stevens is an aye. Alderman or alderwoman alike.
My apologies. Alderman Todd. Alderman Cone. Alderman Graz.
Alderman Cone is an aye.
Thank you. Alderman Graz. Twenty-two aye votes.
Thank you. By your vote, we have third read and finally passed Board Bill 65, floor substitute. Thank you very much. Report of engrossment.
Thank you.
Board Bill 37, 38, 57, 69, 56, Committee Sub 11, 47, Committee Sub as amended, 61, Committee Sub, and 65 for floor sub.
All right, thank you very much, Sharita. All other business being suspended, the president will in open session affix their signature hereto to the end that these may become law. All right. Courtesy resolution, Alderman from the 25th, you're recognized on our courtesy resolutions calendar.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions calendar.
Okay, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 25th, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th, that we approve our courtesy resolutions calendar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. First reading of resolutions.
Resolution 64, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, in support of the Community Reinvestment Act.
Alderman from the 19th, you are recognized for the first reading of resolution number 64. Alderwoman.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move that we adopt resolution number 64.
Would you like to ask for unanimous consent, please?
I shall ask for unanimous consent.
Hearing no objections, please proceed.
The Community Reinvestment Act has all of the support from from those who are working towards equity and inclusion with economic development taking place in this city, and also assisting in those decisions that are made in the region.
Would you like to make a motion first, madam, please?
And so what I'd like to do is ask, losing my voice too, I'd like to ask for favorable consideration for resolution number 64.
Entertain a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 19th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 4th, that we proceed with resolution 64. Any further discussion? Please proceed, madam.
I renew my motion.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing no hands. We all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion carries. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. And we will go to miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
We have none.
Alderman from the 23rd, you are recognized.
As a joke, and only as a joke, I was going to say we'll be holding public safety meetings every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the summer break.
In your brain.
I just thought I would just say that. Then I thought I'd better preface with that. It's a joke.
You'll have the staff protesting. I'll give the staff your home address. They'll be protesting. All right. Alderman from the 26th. Imagine that you have an announcement.
you know what, it's not, I don't really have one today. I was gonna do it after, the announcements are after, but I would like to first say happy birthday to Alderwoman Middlebrook. Her internet went out. So I don't know if she got back on or not, but I think we should wish Alderwoman Middlebrook a happy birthday. And then I would also like to solicit your prayers and condolences and have a moment of silence for Miss Mary Hubbard, who belovedly is we call hubby, and it's our former colleague, my sister Tamika Hubbard's grandmother, of course, my husband's grandmother, of course, the matriarch of the Hubbard family, 95 years old. And she went to glory this morning. So again, I'm asking for your prayers, condolences, and a moment of silence for Mary Hubbard.
All right, if we could, members of the board, let's have a moment of silence from Ms. Hubbard. Thank you. All right, anything further, Alderwoman for 26th?
No, thank you.
All right, any further hands up? Any further hands up? I have an announcement. If you're wondering why the Alderman from the 7th is not with us, Alderman Kodar's beautiful wife Susan gave birth to Harrison Edward Kodar yesterday. So congratulations to the both of them. That's why we are short the Alderman from the 7th today. Alderman from the 3rd, you have your hand up.
Yes, sir. Congrats, Jack. That's what I'm talking about. Amazing.
You might want to congratulate his wife. She had a little to do with it too.
That's right. Well, congratulations to the Kotars. Hope you all are having an amazing time. You know, it's an amazing experience. That is awesome. So one of the announcements I have is, and I'm not taking anything away from the 5th Ward, the fabulous 5th, Mr. Page there. There is an amazing, I'm boarded right there at St. Louis Avenue, right in Old North. So we have the amazing Taste of North St. Louis going on this weekend, tomorrow. So come on out. I believe it starts at like noon, or actually it starts before noon, it's like 10 o'clock. But come on out and enjoy yourself. If you're right in North St. Louis, cross the street from Crown Candy.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? All right, Alderman Lappy, welcome to a nice, this is one of our charter meetings, sir, if you haven't been keeping up with us, so you can't wait for the rest of them, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm very excited, President. Thank you.
All right. With that being said, we will move on to Alderman from the 25th. You are recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we excuse the Alderman from the 7th Ward for necessary absence.
Very necessary.
Absolutely.
Second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 25th. We have a second by the Alderman from the 6th. That we excuse the Alderman from the 7th. All those in favor signify by saying.
Aye.
Aye.
What was that?
That's the baby. All right.
Oh,
Those opposed.
okay.
Ayes have it. All right. Alderman from the 25th, you're recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adjourn until Friday, September 16th, 2022 at 10 a.m. Place to be determined.
Thank you, Jesus.
All right, we have a motion by the Alderman from the 25th and a second by the Alderman from the 6th that we adjourn. And thank you all for this journey I've been on for the last month and a half. Thank you for all your help, staff and members of the board for putting up with me as I learn this position I've been handed. So we will now move to adjourn to September 16th, 22 at 10 a.m. TBD. Have a good summer.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.